So let's bring all of this together. So we talked about all of these challenges and the challenges, especially sort of small, medium enterprises face in commercializing in the healthcare space. So you've done a big piece of research that's ended up in the Triple Chasm model. Can you tell us about the research and what the Triple Chasm model is?
So the research really stemmed from the fact that a group of me and my colleagues, we reached a conclusion about 2010 that we seemed to find different ways to screw up every time we did something. And we thought, we're telling other people about how, look at the evidence, look at the data. Why don't we do a data-driven exercise to try and understand how innovation is actually commercialized? Because we were trying to understand not just what was going on in the UK or in North America or Europe, but globally. And so we collected data from around the world over a period of 7 years, from 2010 to 2017. And as we were collecting, we were analyzing data, going back to get more data infilling and stuff. And we covered lots of different market spaces because we wanted to understand were there any systematic differences between agri-food and healthcare and defense. And so we built a very comprehensive model, which we call the Meso-economic Vector Model. And so the model and the work really is a meso-economic analysis of how growth actually happens. It's fundamentally what it is. It's a model for understanding how growth happens.
Growth in companies.
And therefore in the real world, real economy. And there were two key findings from there. One was understanding what the relative maturity of the proposition was. Where were you on your commercialization journey, which we encapsulated as commercialization readiness level. The second was, I know where I am, but what can I do to change my trajectory?
So how do I move forward?
Yeah.
Basically?
And so there we need to understand all the drivers for growth. And we looked at 174 variables and we used AI to analyze in a time where before it was fashionable to do this. We ended up with these 12 vectors, these levers you can pull.
So 12 levers, yeah.
All of them are external. They're how the market is structured, where you're positioning in that market, who the customer is, and how you reach markets, channels to market, etc.
And what's really interesting about the model, I think, is it's not just here's all the levers and here's your maturity level. It's bringing those two together.
Linking them together. And the realization was that what we call Chasm 1, where you built your first prototype, only some of those levers matter. And by the time you get to Chasm 3, when you think you're trying to scale, different things matter, usually like channels, supply chains, and stuff like that. It turns out Chasm 2, where you're trying to prove your product, everything matters. All 12 vectors matter. That's why it's so difficult. That's why I've written a blog which said, there is no value or death. There is only Chasm 2.